says this about Jimmy Kimmel: "We think it's just an indefinite suspension. It sounds like there are conversations about bringing him back to air. We'll see." But the Federalist says it hardly needs to be said that nothing about the Kimmel story implicates free speech in any way. Kimmel didn't just mock MAGA or criticize Kirk. He patently lied about the ideology of Kirk's alleged assassin. And by allowing his comments to air, ABC arguably violated the terms of its FCC license. Now, there's no doubt that when he made the remarks, anybody who had been following this case, watching the press accounts, the press, by the various law enforcement officials, and Kimmel says he's got a crack research team that keeps him out of trouble. People knew that it was not a MAGA ideology that came from this alleged shooter. So why should he get to misrepresent that and then not expect some kind of consequence from his own employer?
Well, Shannon, I'm going to go back to the first sentence of what you read me from the Federalist. I haven't seen that. When it says it doesn't implicate free speech issues, they're just wrong about that. When you have the head of the FCC bragging, we're going to go after you, and we can do it the easy way or the hard way, and he's giving a message to Kimmel's employer, who has a merger application pending before the FCC, even Republicans like Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson and Karl Rove have said that goes way too far. You shouldn't be using the power of the FCC to undermine somebody because the president thinks he's too much of a critic. I've heard some of the talk show commentators in recent days say, look, I've been on TV under multiple presidents, and I give all of them grief and I give all of them trouble, but none of them are ever so thin-skinned that they come after me. And looking at the president's tweets and celebratory words following Kimmel being pulled off the air, I hope you're right and that discussions are going forward about coming back. Look, you had a colleague, Brian Kilmeade, 10 days ago who suggested that homelessly mentally ill people should be lethally injected. He apologized the next day. He said, okay, those were callous comments. He didn't get pulled off the air. And I think that's probably, I just hope that there's a path here where we don't use the power of the FCC to muscle people who the president, doesn't like what they're saying.
Well, something else from the Federalist, they make this point saying some of those rending their garments this week over Kimmel's cancellation were the same people who cheered on government censorship during COVID. They love censorship so long as it's their side doing the censoring. I mean, this was a case that was fought all the way to the Supreme Court, and there was language there about the government putting its thumb on various social media outlets and others about what they did and didn't want people to be able to say in dissent with regard to COVID policy.
Well, Shannon, there's a difference. You know this. There's a difference between political speech, where we tend to allow a really wide and robust area of political speech, and dangerous misinformation. Give you an example. Congress passed a couple years back a bill, FOSTA and SESTA, that requires social media companies to take down information that could be used to foment human trafficking. Now, it is a speech regulation, but it's an appropriate one, and Congress passed that overwhelmingly positively. Similarly, information that's misinformation about COVID that could lead people to be seriously ill or even die, that's a little bit different than somebody expressing a political opinion about whether or not they like Tim Kaine as a senator or whether or not they like Donald Trump as a president. We are a society that needs to tolerate a pretty wide variety of opinions when it comes to politics, and that's made us stronger, not weaker. Some countries crack down on all kinds of political speech. I lived in Honduras when it was a military dictatorship, and you had to keep your mouth shut about politics. Thank God we haven't been that way as Americans, and I hope we never will be.
Well, fair to say that what Kimmel said about the suspect at the time we all knew was misinformation. We'll watch to see what happens with his job moving forward. Senator Kaine, thank you very much. Always appreciate your time.
Glad to be with you, Shannon. We always have a good civil dialogue, and that's what this country needs right now.
They do. Come back.
Civil dialogue among people who disagree, but we can listen to each other and respect each other.
Yeah, come back soon.